with us today. Um, to start off, could you just start with your background and what inspired you to start Send AI?
Yeah. I mean, before we do that, I would love to learn about you guys. I mean, I'm on the blog, but curious where you're trying to go with it. Is it just a pet project? You know.
All
From
right,
our side, like the reason we started the blog was just because the two of us, we are really passionate about finance. Um, to be honest, we're not really trying to monetize it. We're not really trying to seek anything out of it. We're just trying to learn more. And by
Hmm.
putting it out there, I think we're forcing ourselves to like do more research. We're avoiding the use of ChatGPT. So like we're writing all of our blogs, we're doing research manually rather than asking ChatGPT to give us a framework.
Yeah.
So it's just us developing our soft skills. And with the interviews, like our motivations is just to connect with people. Like again, there's
Okay.
there's no like end goal. It's just that we work on ourselves
No,
and
that's fine.
learn more about finance.
You guys are in college or you guys are working already?
We just graduated.
yeah, we just
Okay.
graduated.
Like
Yeah,
the
no,
funny
no, no.
thing is,
I
we
had
always thought of doing this in uni, but we never
uh-huh.
ended up doing it. So we thought the best time to start is now.
Yeah. And for context, I I also just took internships where I would get to talk to people to figure out what I wanted to do. So I get it. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it really works out for me because I'm a really shy in person. So I just want to, develop that habit of talking to more people and learning.
Yeah, and
So
build the
yeah.
muscle. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Okay, so what was your first question again?
All right. Just a small introduction about your background, um, the journey so far and what inspired you to start Send.
Yeah. So my background was in finance. So I started out I studied finance in college. I went to NYU. Then I worked in investment banking. I did private equity. Sorry. I worked at Wells Fargo. Then I did M&A there. Then I moved over to private equity, and I was mainly healthcare focused when I was there. Um, is it helpful to give more context or little context? How deep do you want me to go?
We'd want
All
more
right.
context.
Yeah, we want more
I feel
context.
Okay.
like all of us, if anyone tunes into this interview, like I feel like they'd benefit from knowing what your journey has
Uh,
been. And if anyone
Is
wants to start
your
their
is
own
your
company,
audience closer in age to you or to me?
To us.
I'd say to us, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But the
So
funny thing
in
is, just
that
because
line,
Rehan's based in India, I'm in Australia. I've
yeah,
also studied for a bit in the US. So like we sort of have like a global audience at the moment.
got it. Okay. So I'll be a little bit more detailed on the college side. So for context, I summered at a hedge fund and I got an offer at the hedge fund that I summered at. So I was like excited, like, yes, I go straight to the buy side. Awesome. The fund was blowing up. And so they rescinded my offer. So I was like scrambling to find a job. Ended up in investment banking down in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I had to leave New York. So from the day I was in banking, I wanted to leave. Initially, I wanted to go back to a hedge fund. I think over time, I realized that hedge funds, at least like even activist hedge funds, are just pure gambling. And val private equity, I was like, oh, this is value added gambling. Like you're helping the companies get better. So moved into private equity for that. I left private equity because at least the fund I was at was I didn't think that they were um I just wasn't sure of that they were really adding value. And so I wanted to do good, do well, and build businesses. So I then started Teamwork Healthcare. Um, and so that's an autism therapy company, community based. I bootstrapped that for a while. Then after we crossed 1 million of funding and we were cash flow positive, raised a couple million in VC funding, and then grew it to 4 million of ARR. Um,
That's pretty
along
impressive.
the way, Excuse me?
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you. I think along the way, when we were at 2.5 million of ARR, we went for our Series A. And so when we were looking for who are Series A VCs, which ones invest in healthcare services, and then which ones, within that firm, who's the healthcare person, that is very manual work to build out all that list to figure and contact info. And so, that was kind of the genesis for Send, which is can we automate some of that work to make it much easier to access capital versus doing all that work manually? Just like I mean, that's the same kind of work that I had to do when I was in banking. Like when you're selling a company, you have to put together a list of buyers and who to talk to and all of that. And so, I was like, this can be automated now. Like a lot of the work that I did in banking is easier now.
Right. Um, that's
And
actually really
so
fascinating.
that's the genesis of Send.
Right.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah. Like you started off with your own, I guess you started off in investment banking. You realized the bottlenecks. You started your own company. And while I guess you were pitching to startups, or not startups, to VCs, you realized that this problem is persistent. So you started Send AI just because you had that domain knowledge.
and
And
it's a real problem you want to solve. So,
Correct.
that makes sense.
right. Yeah, that's great. So, so we read a bit about Send, and it positions itself as the OS, the operating system for M&A deals. So in your view, you were just talking about the gaps in the traditional processes. If you could go a bit more into that and how, Send is addressing them.
Um, would it, yeah, so I think, so is it helpful to talk about it from the concept of off deal, or do you want to just have me show the tool? What's helpful?
Oh, we could actually just see the tool. I think that would be really nice. Right.
Um, I've also noticed a few companies like INVEN or Deal Dogs do sort of similar stuff. How
Hmm.
how's End AI, I guess, different in terms of what it's offering compared to these guys?
Yeah, so there's certain overlaps. Like for example, INVEN will do originations like we do, right?
Yeah,
Um, I think the thing is that INVEN doesn't do market research, as an example, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
that itself, there's certain high level features that INVEN does that we don't like, or sorry, that we do that INVEN doesn't. The second thing is also the execution details. Like if you look at, I've seen customers use INVEN. For example, we got 249 results, right?
yeah.
Right.
INVEN is if you search ABA therapy in New York City, it gets 10,000 results. Okay? And that looks, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because
Right.
there's
I
not
mean,
10,000 companies. And so I'll give you an example. Like there were companies from Colorado in the list, or there were mental health companies that are not behavioral health in the list. And so that didn't filter enough. And then when I had checked the box, not just headquartered in New York City, but operating in New York City, then it got 45. And I'm like, well, I saw a name that was in there that should be in there that just got removed.
Okay.
And so, like, there's some aspects where like INVEN is just confusing to me. Um, so in certain ways, I think how well you execute list generation matters.
mhm.
But also they just don't have certain features like market maps. So that's where I think execution counts. Deal Dog, I actually know the founder himself.
Okay.
He lives like, he lives in New York City, so we've met up. They only do Sims. They don't do originations. Like they do PowerPoint generation. We don't do PowerPoint generation yet. But they don't do buyer list generation. They don't do origination lists. Like it's a different step within the M&A chain. Does that answer your
Okay.
question?
Well,
It does, yeah.
yes. Um, so now you've used AI to sort of automate your discovery process. So how much does AI help you in the next step of the process, like like zeroing in on the buyers and negotiating with them? Do you see any impact of AI on this? Because we've mostly seen people use their tactics and interpersonal skills. So how do you
Yeah.
see AI dominating that
So
part?
so yes, I see AI as being helpful for every single aspect of a deal. And I've done every single aspect of a deal manually.
Right. Yes.
But let's say we build a perfect buyer list. I'm just making it up. No names are missed. Let's make that assumption, right?
Okay.
The next step after that is I have to draft an email to every single one of these potential buyers, right?
Right.
AI can generate a draft email for me and say, hey, I see you've done these relevant deals. Are you interested? That's one
Right.
thing. Two, um, then I need to send them a one-page teaser on the company. AI can generate a one-page teaser. Three, I need to negotiate an NDA with that person before I send them confidential information. AI can
I can do that.
redline an NDA.
Right.
And then once I sent, AI can generate a management presentation, right? And it's AI can figure out what the precedent transactions are. It'll take a lot of iteration to do good work, but every step of the way at this point, you can thoughtfully do a first draft where AI does a first draft and then a human checks it. But over time, it's going to get to a place where, they're optional.
That makes sense. Wow. Um,
So our goal is, and I haven't mentioned this, off deal has humans plus, tech in the background,
yeah,
right?
Right. Right.
If we are successful, every single investment bank will use us and become their own off deal.
Right.
that makes
So,
sense.
so, so- right. Okay. Okay. Now I get the operating system and the engine part.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's very clear.
Do you think the big banks would try to build their own software, or would they engage in, I guess, third parties like Send AI?
It's a combination. I think it depends. Like you've heard of Rogo.
Yeah.
Like Lazard is using Rogo. A couple companies are using Rogo. But they also like Lazard as an example
Mhm.
is has Rogo and Lazard GPT. So they'll build their own. So the issue is that big investment banks have so much red tape on like data access, permissions, all of that stuff. So they will always try to build their own in-house. And then when it fails, they might look at other people.
Okay.
So, will they do a good job? I highly doubt it. Um, but PE firms, management consulting firms, there are tons of other companies that don't have the red tape that we can still keep building with.
But do you think that's going to close off, I guess, a big portion of the market? Maybe not now, but in the future for some time when they're experimenting with their own in-house tools? Like, is that a potential challenge that you've thought of at the moment? Or
Yeah, I
not
mean,
really?
I mean, at the end of the day, they still pay for data providers like S&P Cap IQ or Bloomberg or PitchBook or whatever. Um, so why can't they pay for send?
Makes sense. I guess as you scale with more data, users, and deal volume, like what other bottlenecks do you see, or like do you think might uh, Trend might encounter? Like, is it going to be related to data ingestion or inference costs or maintaining, I guess, the integrity of your knowledge hub?
Um, I think all of it can become an issue at varying stages. It'd be stupid to think, every single problem is solved once and then it never becomes a problem in a different way. Um, yeah, we just have to be ready to handle all of it.
All right. So it's coming to the tech side a bit. So obviously models have gotten massively better,
Hmm.
over the last couple of years.
For
And
sure.
right. So how have you seen, your vision change in these last 2 years? Because every time we think, okay, maybe this is still going to be dominated by humans, and well, AI just comes along and then, hey, AI can do that.
Yeah,
So,
I think like the evolution of how we've thought about it is like
mm,
we spent a lot of time building in-house LLM evaluation tools, right?
okay.
Because it hallucinates and we're like, I would give it the answer. Like I'm literally giving the markdown. I'm
Mm,
like, man, it says 10 million. Like, why are you giving not 10 million? I'm like, it literally
precisely.
says it on this thing. I give it to you, read it, say 10. And it'll mess up. And that was we used to build structured workflows where we're like first go and let's say for a company, I need to get the founder executive, right? First go
Right.
to link whatever, find
Hmm.
the email, stitch it all together, display it, right?
Right. Right.
But now, why even, and we have different workflows for different things. Like let's say ownership, I have to go Google who is, this company is acquired, or I'd have to go to Crunchbase or whatever. I'd have to look somewhere to be who owns it, right?
Right.
Um, and that's a separate workflow. But today, with like MCPs and stuff, you're like,
Hmm.
maybe I just give it a set of tools. Maybe I'm like, give it the access to the internet with Brave Search or SERP API. Maybe I give it access to a LinkedIn API. Maybe I give it access to a contact info API. And based on the problem, you decide what APIs to use and then just give me the answer. I don't have to give you the specific set of workflows. So I think over
Yes.
time, like more and more things will get flexible.
Right. Context and agents with, tool usage have become really popular this year.
Yes.
So we can see that happening. Another thing I wanted to ask you
Well, I
about
think the
was,
last thing is before you'd have to rag like you think
oh
about
yeah,
like, do I chunk up everything? Do I
right. Everything
whatever?
was a
The
rag.
context windows weren't that big. And now
Right.
we're like, fuck it. Let's just scrape the whole website and pass it in.
Yeah. I think context windows have now reached like 1 million tokens, and
Yeah.
that's more than any man would read in his
Hmm.
lifetime. So yes, it's truly fascinating. In one of your blogs, you wrote about the role of content, for a founder, you know,
Hmm.
about how, they should keep creating more content. And you also said that you would like to do create more content, put it out there. So could you talk a bit more about that? The importance of content in today's age.
It's very cheap in terms of accessing, well, two things. One, we can access way more users through content than through like if I'm going to an ACG conference, like that's an M&A conference, I might talk to 8 people. And who knows who I'm going to talk to? It might be 8 irrelevant people. If I put something on LinkedIn, I might get, hundreds of thousands of impressions. I mean, you guys heard about us through LinkedIn.
Right. Absolutely.
So there's that aspect of the reach is just greater on the internet than face to face. The second thing is, I think I told you, like we have tens of thousands of investors' email info. And if I want them to use our tool, I can only send them an email saying, please demo my tool, maybe once, maybe twice, or they unsubscribe and say, leave me alone. Right?
Right.
But if I have content, I can email them a blog post every week or every whatever cadence I do. And I'm like, I think this is interesting to you. I'm not telling you to use send, but now you're thinking about send,
Right.
right? So I can email them weekly with content that's relevant to them. And when they're ready to spend money, they'll think about us. And so I don't think you can beg every week, but you can be interesting every week.
Okay. Yeah. That's a nice thought. So it's all about building your own personal distribution. That's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, I mean that sounds interesting. Like I think that's something me and Rehan should also follow with the blog.
Yeah.
Just try to make more interesting stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I guess the next question that I have is, in terms of like the long-term vision for Send, like, are there any plans of like moving downstream, like doing something similar to off deal, or are you just going to try to automate every part of M&A, like uh, from the deal going through and post M&A synergies? Like, are there plans for automations over there as well?
Yeah. So there's different levels. Like, so the question is, one, would we go vertical? Would we become an investment bank ourselves? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or in the way of off deal. The the answer for do we want to be off deal is no. Um, I wish Ori the best of luck. Um, Investment bankers, in my opinion, can be divas. Um, they're egotistical, hard to manage. And I say that having been one. So it's not like I don't know anyone. I was annoying to work with. Um, and so he has to manage a lot of people with high egos and high, you know, desire to leave. Like investment bankers leave all the time. I left in 2 years as fast as I could to private equity. And he's working on smaller deals. And so if he has good investment bankers, they will want to work on bigger deals. They will want to work in private equity. I have had a services business. I started Teamwork Healthcare. There are divas who are clinicians, and they also leave because they think the world is greener somewhere else. It is just human behavior to look for greener pastures. And so I don't want to manage a bunch of investment bankers. There are already investment banks that are managing investment bankers. And so we would rather power them than become them. It is a headache that they can keep. I have had the wonderful honor of managing large service providers, and it is difficult. Um, Now getting to where we could go, this assumes so many things go right. I'm not
Right.
saying it will go right. If we are able to automate and give investment banks the ability to automate at every single step, there may be some PE firms that may say, I don't even need an investment bank. I might consider Send to be a marketplace. right? And you can just launch your deal on our platform and see it all the way through. Who knows? That's one potential. It is going to take massive amounts of success to do that. It will take massive amounts of success to be the next PitchBook, right? Like you can you can do certain things well and be happy with that. Um, but if we do multiple things well, maybe it's a marketplace. If we do data really well, maybe it's PitchBook or Crunchbase 2.0. Um, it is yet to be seen.
Right. Um, okay, that's really interesting. So now I've got to also ask about your
I'll
product
say one
building.
more quick thing.
Right,
You can think of originations, right? Like I
right,
showed you, find every company and make custom enrichments. That is perfectly helpful to salespeople as well, right? We
right.
could become a sales tool, like a not just a roll up, but a go-to-market tool, and we can go horizontal. We can build a CRM because then we can enrich the CRM with our own thing, and that's also horizontal. So who I don't know what where the market will pull us. We can just hope there's a lot of pull.
Wow. Okay, so now I'm really interested in your product building experience. Because you've had AI around. So how quickly and how efficiently and how accurately um, are you able to hack together, new features these days? You've built before, you've built now, so you know the
Hmm.
difference. So
And
how's your
I'm
speed
also
to
not
market
the
like?
best engineer because I have a finance background.
Right.
So I'll give you a very quick, I'll share my screen again
Yeah.
and you'll understand. So for example, I need a credit, like we're going to implement credits, right?
Mhm.
So I need a credit page.
Right.
Okay. So like, a credit calculator page. I went to Codex and I said, create a credits page. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
And then it spun this up. Okay. I said,
Yeah.
match our scheme, match all of that, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
And then, do I have it here? Localhost slash credits calculator. I don't know if localhost. Yeah. Like, is it working perfectly? No. Okay. But this is a good start. And that, like, I can just have an idea, a prompt. I'll say, go build this. It will build this. And now I can play with it. It's not live yet. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Then I go to Cursor. I don't know if have you guys used Cursor yet or used
Yeah.
Cursor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Then you can, then I can go customize with Cursor and, fine tune it and it's done. And then I can deploy it. But we use a combination of different, some people at our organization like Claude Code, I like
Mhm.
Codex and Cursor, but you know, it's it's certainly much faster to start at that as a starting point than at, my head. I don't even use Figma anymore. I just, it's faster to just create a page versus make a wireframe, then make a Figma, then implement. Fuck it. You could just ask Codex to give it a shot, and then it's it's much easier to edit than to generate.
Okay, right. Well, that was great insight into your actual workflow of how we build things. I think one more final thing. This can be a short response. If it's something I like to ask people. If you were in building Send AI, what do you think you'd be building?
Um,
Like a pressing
my,
problem that
my
you want to see solved.
no, my wife hates this. But but one, I think down the road I'd want a deep tech company,
Mhm.
um, like or a hardware company. So like, could I build something? Are you guys vegetarian
Yeah, I'm
or no?
vegetarian.
Yeah, he's a vegetarian. Yeah.
Okay, so like for context, like I'm vegan. And so I was
Okay.
like, okay, can I build automated farmers and like make access to vegetable production cheaper?
Oh, okay.
Like, and so I'm like, okay, I'd want to do that. But to build a hardware business and robotics business takes a lot more money. And
Right.
so ideally, Send has to work out to then work on that.
Right. That's okay. That's a great insight. Um,
The only question that was coming into my mind was what's stopping like a 17-year-old vibe coder to like build up something similar to this? Like that was the only thing I
Uh,
was thinking about. Because
yeah,
recently I've
yes.
just been reading news about so many people just coding up
mhm.
something over a weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you could argue we have better vibe coders, right? Like we have more experienced vibe coders. Like my co-founder was making like $1 million a year, um, at Robinhood. And like, we have other talented team members that are also as good vibe coders or real coders, as everyone else. Um, so the argument could be made, do we have a better talent density than the random Joe Schmo? And then two, do they have domain expertise, having not worked in private equity or M&A like
Mhm.
me? Uh, and certainly our first few customers were people that I knew. And I don't know if they would have had that same network. Um, and then three, it takes I don't want to underestimate how much work goes into a partnerships aspect. Like you have to figure out which data vendors are great for LinkedIn data, for
Mm.
contact data, for whatever. Is it cost effective? Um, how do you how do you decide what, like some people might not give you resell agreements, right? So building out partnerships, you can't just vibe code that. You also need partnerships with resale agreements with different data vendors. That's one aspect. The the second thing is when you get to scale, I gave you a demo that is, uh, let me help you build the idea, right?
Mm.
And I was like,
Right.
here, let me show you scraping, let me show you enrichment, then let's go. But
Right.
behind the scenes, there is so much stuff about data cleanup. What if there are two profiles on LinkedIn, right? What if there's two John Smiths in the world? How do I handle that? And
And they could be
once you
fake data
think
too.
about, six hundreds of millions of people,
Mhm.
tens of millions of companies, and then the roles in between each for like, is it a current job, not job, whatever, and then even get to deals where you have to have deal info on like what are the intercompany relationships, like those kinds of tables go crazy, right?
Right.
Um, and then the cleanup of deduplication, and you can't, what if you merge two different profiles? Which one of those do you keep, right? Like it's
Right.
insane. Um, and so what if someone spells Harvard with the E? You
Mm.
have to handle so many different edge cases. And so, can you vibe code it? Yeah. Is it going to be high quality? Takes time.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I think the last thing is even scraping. What if they have Cloudflare defense? What if they have pictures in it? Like, how fast can you do it? How many threads can you do it? Like, it's it's crazy.
Right. Your AWS builds must surely be racking up. Uh,
Or it's our job to make sure we're fine tuning it so we're not racking it up like crazy.
How important do you think is having domain knowledge while building a company? Like, is it a must have and an end all, or is it something you can skirt by through?
Right. It's because, recently we've also seen this, this whole argument online. A lot of philosophers are coming and saying, this is the the Renaissance. People can become polymaths once again, like it was 500 years ago. So do you see that happening?
Um, yes and no. I think given enough time, anything is possible. Like
Hmm.
I have started a healthcare company and I learned to become a biller and I learned to become a scheduler. I learned to become a recruiter. All of it is possible. But if you're moving, if you have, let's say, let's just take my co-founder, right? If it was my co-founder alone versus me plus my co-founder, right? He is going to a sales meeting or let's use my previous company, Teamwork Healthcare. We would have my co-founder, Erica, she had domain expertise. She is very, very personable. I'm fine, but she has a PhD from Columbia in applied behavior analysis. We will talk about patient outcomes. We'll be like, here's our speed to care, here's the, reduction in severe behaviors, here's all of this, right? And
Right.
we'll talk about outcomes data. We'll go to a pediatrician's office. She will say it, they believe her. I will say the same exact stats, they don't give a shit. And the reason is because behind the scenes, when she's worked with patients, they've ripped her shirt off, they've done all kinds of crazy stuff, right? They'll run away. And when I say it, you know, it's just not as meaningful, right? And so the same way, if EJ, my co-founder in this, is
Hmm.
going to sales pitch saying the same exact facts as me, he may or may not. I may say something weird that lets you know I don't have a PhD. I just say one word that you're like, man, you don't know this, right?
Right.
But let's just assume EJ says the same thing. At the end of the day, I've had so many 5 a.m., 6 a.m. nights building stuff manually from scratch that they'll be like, this guy gets it. Like, it's not fair, but in an ABA, no one respects me.
Hmm.
In finance, people respect me. So this is assuming that people can learn years of experience within whatever minutes. Um, but you know, good luck.
Right.
It's the same way I'm not as good of an engineer as my co-founder.
Right. And I also loved how using, the data for all those interactive visualizations on the platform. Um, I thought, that was really helpful.
Yeah, hopefully. But does
But
that
I've
answer your
taken
question about
screenshots of everything that you've posted on LinkedIn, and
uh-huh.
I'm using that as like a starting point of like doing my research for like future blogs. So like those were pretty nice. And I think it was
Yeah,
through
no,
one of those waterfronts that uh like I saw your post and I connected with you.
Yeah, no, I think we'll start having fully automatic market map generation.
Mhm.
So I'm excited for, you know, us leveraging our own tech to improve content and go to market.
I guess that
Does
was
that,
yeah, it
do you
answers the
feel
question.
like you guys have a sense of can it be vibe coded?
Uh, well,
Not
we
when you
know
spell
for a
it out.
fact, yeah. I think vibe coding works great for, like MVPs, and prototypes, and landing pages. But when you reach a certain amount of product depth, yeah, you know why engineers are getting paid what they get paid.
Yeah. Like I could maybe make up 500 different ABA therapy companies, but no
Right.
customer is going to buy that. But for a demo, I could show that. Yeah.
Yep, and I think when
And
you
then
were
I have to,
explaining about
yeah.
how if you have like different profiles or like similar profiles on LinkedIn, like the data cleaning side of things as well. Like, yeah, I don't think you can vibe code that. Like that only
Yeah,
comes through
because you're
experience
just
and
going from edges to nodes, because
Hmm.
especially if you're starting to add relationships like company deals or where someone works, like it's not just a list of 50 million and then 600 million people. All the intercompany relationships is crazy.
that makes sense. Um, what advice would you give to, I guess, new founders for people who are like looking to start their own company?
Uh, you got to do it. You gotta, there's
Just jump the
nothing
gun.
like, yeah, you can't be a NBA player without playing basketball. Like you can't be a founder without building something.
Fair enough.
Like I also would ask like before I became a founder, like I would talk to the founders of the portfolio companies I owned, and they had all made 100 million plus. And so I was like, how do I do this? And they're like, just grow some balls. Like that's it. Like,
That's
yeah,
interesting
you
because
just
me
have
and
to do it.
Rehan are also sort of thinking of like starting up a company probably sometime this year. Like we're still trying to
Mhm.
like navigate different things. I honestly don't know if that's going to work out or not, but just the fact that we're learning
Uh,
stuff.
yeah,
Like,
and I think the way I think about it is what, 90% failure rate. It's okay. The second one, you will stack all the learnings and mistakes from the first one and keep going. Like if you have a 10% success rate and each subsequent venture becomes more and more likely to succeed, just keep betting on yourself. You only need one outcome to be great and you're generational wealth.
Right. It's like a hedge fund
Yeah,
manager's
you're
portfolio,
just
right?
turning yourself into a VC.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's solid advice. Um,
Yeah.
we've been hearing the same thing. So yes, I think that's yeah, that should be time.
Okay.
So thank you, Anirudh. It was a great pleasure talking to you, and we certainly
Mhm.
had a lot to take away from this meeting, and we hope to
All
stay
right.
connected with you, and
For
we'll be
sure.
in
If I can
touch.
help in any way, reach back out.
Sure,
yeah,
we definitely will.
thanks for that.